Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Rachiel, Sariel, Remiel, all these ELs, these are angels. Notice how they all end in EL. Now this is interesting because in the ancient world, the god of the ancient world was El. Now this is where we get words like electricity and elite. And when you become one of the elites, you become elevated. Now it gets even more interesting because El, God, okay, the ancient God, if you go into the Bible, you'll see that it says in Luke 17:21 that God is within you. So if God is within you, that means the El is within you. And that is interesting because the angels, when you think of like, you know, when you're about to do something bad and an evil angel and a good angel sits on your shoulders. Well, those are your angels on your shoulders. Those are your inner thoughts. That is within you. That is the El within you, okay? The God force within you. The electricity within you. Now that to me is fascinating. Then, I mean, you can get even deeper. Like, what is the bringer of life? Well, on this earth, you could look at it like the sun brings life. Because when the sun comes back to the earth, especially in the northern hemisphere, when the sun comes back to the northern hemisphere in the spring, it brings life. Animals come out of hibernation. Everything starts growing. So the sun is the bringer of life. We can look at it like that. Now, it's also interesting that if you shined a light, a light in a cave, specifically a light that the same similar color as the sun, if you shine that in a cave thousands of feet in the ground, all of a sudden plants and things will start growing out of a rock. Things will start growing. That's just how it happens. So light is life. And it also says that in the Bible. It says that God is light. So that's interesting. So the light of the world shines through all of these things that we call planets that the ancient people used to believe were gods. Now, when I look at another human being, I see a body, but inside that human being, there's a soul, there's a spirit, there's all sorts of stuff happening. When you see me, you see a guy, you see a body, but I am not my body. Just as those solar systems, those planets up there in that solar system, that's not a planet, that's a body. What's in that? What is that? You know, that's an energy, man. Just like the sun brings life, because the sun is an energy, a massive energy. These other things are bodies, the bodies of energies. And these energies, when the light of the bringer of life shines through these other bodies. And when the light, which is a photon, that's what a photon is in science. Photon is a tiny little light. And when that tiny little light shines down at an angle, and it's beautiful, this beautiful light shines at an angle, and it shines through all of these solar systems, through the solar system, through all these planets, and it shines down into your pineal gland at an angle. Those are angels of light. It's an angle of light, and it's shining, and that light of the world shines right into your pineal gland. Bang! And I think there's a lot going on there that we are not taught about. And honestly, if you go to my website, so much information. It kind of explains all this stuff. But, you know, I think learning symbolism is huge. When you realize that all these words, they come from things, you know. The Lucifer comes from the word luz, which means bright light, bright light. It was the third brightest light in the sky, the planet Venus, which is why I own like 20 dictionaries that say Lucifer is the planet Venus. And it is. It's because it's the bright light. And the bright light goes dim. And all of a sudden, the bright light is faded and gone. Soon as what? Soon as the sun comes out. And what is the sun? It's God's son, because God made the sun. You didn't. So God's son, the bringer of all life. The sun is pretty important. God's son comes out, and all of a sudden, the third brightest light in the sky, Luz, cannot be seen anymore, and it diminishes. So Luz becomes so incredibly envious of the sun, it becomes Lucifer the Antichrist. These are stories, ladies and gentlemen. Learn the symbolism and set this thing that I call a brain that a lot of people don't want to seem to use. You'll set that thing free, I promise you. Go to my website, download all my books, They are $0, okay? And you know why? Because I work in the city, and I didn't want to tell people, because people would ask, what do you do? And I'm like, I write, I do this, I do that. Because I'm a recovery coach, I try and get people to do things and, you know, find their niche in life, you know? And they would say, well, how can I get your books? And I'd have to go, oh, well, you know, I guess you can go to my website and you've got to buy them. And a lot of people can't afford even $5. And I'm not making fun of anyone, because I've been there. So I was like, you know what? It shouldn't be that way. If it's a digital product, I don't care that it took a lot of time. If it's a digital product and it can be given away for free, it should be. And if you support what I do, you can be a member, you can get my phone number, you can be a part of what I'm trying to do, you can help me out, we can have conversations, you can donate to my page, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do any of that. You can spend literally days on just my website alone, never mind my books. And I'm putting the information out because we are living through a change of an age, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to come down to whether you believe in nonsense and you go further into the rabbit hole that people think that we're going into when we go into conspiracies, but we are climbing out of rabbit holes. You know, I'm up here with websites and videos throwing you ropes from the top of the rabbit hole that you got put in from birth. I love you all very much. This video is my opinion.